Welcome to Changing the Sales Game on webtalkradio.com. I'm your host, Connie Whitman. You know, I'm excited that you're here this week. So here's the deal. I have a free gift for you, of course. I always start the show with this because at the end of the day, no matter what we're doing and changing, in this case, our sales game, communication is kind of a critical skill that we need to develop or improve. So to help you on your journey of changing your sales game, in the show notes, you'll see my link tree. In there is the CSA, the Communication Style Assessment. It's a little quiz. You'll get 2 reports. The first report just spotlights your natural communication superpowers, how your message is landing. Important to know. Flip side, your lowest scored, you'll also get a report on that one. That's where you're communicating with people 180 degrees different than you. In my opinion, that is the more important report because we want to make sure that those blind spots are covered and that we understand how to change or modify whatever we need to do to make sure our message is landing correctly. And that's an easy way to help you change your sales game. So again, link is in the show notes. Now, my quote to set the stage for my conversation with my guest today is by Jeffrey Gitomer. And Jeffrey says, "This is not hard sell, it's heart sell. Good questions get to the heart of the problem or the need very quickly, and the buyer doesn't feel he or she is being pushed." You know, selling from the heart and building those long-term dynamic relationships were intuitive for me when I started my career over 4 decades ago, but it also helped me quickly stand out from my peers. And in my case, it was the financial service industry. Now, by building a strong foundation and reputation, I was able to generate ongoing referrals, and my close ratio was off the charts because I was trusted resource even before I met whoever this referred client was. It's so simple, yet I see so many people who need to engage and sell as part of their job responsibilities, and they still are seeing or perceiving sales as icky and sleazy. So my motto is, if you are not selling from love, care, and respect, please stop. You're doing it wrong. So today, who is my guest? Where we're going to dig into one of my favorite topics. Her name is Jackie Joy. Now, Jackie is a dynamic leadership coach and sales trainer at Selling from the Heart. With over 25 years of experience in various sales leadership roles, she's passionate about transforming the sales culture into a community of trust, authenticity, and credibility. Now, Jackie's unique approach combines her rich sales experience with her love for psychology and learning, making her an inspired teacher. Her vision is to elevate the sales profession and make it a positive impact on society. Amen, Jackie. And thank you for coming on the show. I'm really excited about our conversation today.
Thank you for having me. I am super excited too. I am very passionate about sales and selling and the heart.
Yeah. And wasn't that quote so great? And I think there's still a lot of salespeople that feel if I don't ask for the sale 3 times, and if I don't push the client and I don't persuade them, I hate that word persuade. It's not about persuading. It's about honoring and serving, right? And if we did a good job with our questions and all of that, the solution, if I'm the right solution, should be so obvious that you and the client are like, all right, why didn't I meet you a year ago? Should be the response, not I have to think about it, I don't have the money, and all those objections that we hear, right? So
absolutely. If we take and put ourselves in the client's shoes, like if someone said to me what I am saying to that client, and I'm going, yeah, no, then why would our clients buy from us? Unless you're trying to understand more about their needs, you're trying to provide a solution, you're trying to get to the heart of the matter. That's what you're here for.
absolutely.
Is every person your client? No. Don't try to fit a square peg in a round hole. Not everybody's going to be your client unless you're selling air.
That's can we package that? I don't know about that. You're so funny. So let's talk about, building trust relationships and business. How many myths are there about that, right? That whole trust relationship kind of component.
I've uncovered there's about 7 that I know of. There could be more, as we go through life, there's probably more than 7, but I've identified at least 7 myths that, from the past that we trying to sell things today, the way that they were done in the past, it doesn't work. It doesn't work. Some of it does, Some of it just had to be modified a little bit. But there's so many things that just aren't true anymore.
Yeah. And, I started over 4 decades ago, Joy. So, when you start looking at all of that training I've had has contributed to who I am. I think sales was intuitive for me in the beginning. I didn't know that. I was too young to know that. But that selling from the heart was very intuitive, how I was raised. All of those things play into, right, my human, the human that I am here and now. But all of that training served me to understand that sales process and communication. And then we've refined it through the years. But the
Yes.
old way of selling, really, there are so many pieces that are outdated. And if that's still where you're coming from, it becomes really, really dangerous. So what was the, of all the 7 myths that you've kind of honed in on, what was the biggest or the most surprising to you?
The most surprising, I don't think any of them that were really surprising. Probably the one that sales is a numbers game,
Oh,
because we're beat to death with that. We're still beat to death with that. But it's all about your strategy, your skills, your building relationship. That's what it's about.
yeah.
I worked in the health insurance space, and it's like, I need you to do 700. No, it was 300 dials a day. And I would say, and that was my leader above me, and I would go to my agents, how many people are you going to impact today? Because that is what, one, for agents, who wants to be killed with dial, 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 dial? That's exhausting,
It's exhausting.
if nothing else. But if you go, hey, I want to impact the world. I want to impact people's lives. I know our products and services are fabulous. We might not be for everybody, but I know this is going to make a difference in my ideal client's life.
Absolutely.
So yes, are numbers important when you have a business? They are absolutely important. But, oops, sorry about that.
She gave us if you're on the video, if you're on my YouTube channel, she just gave us the thumbs up video. And
I gave a thumb. I talk with
very
my
cute.
hands. I am French. So all of these things come up unexpectedly. And it's like and it's just because I talk with my hands. So I will
love it.
sit on them.
Me too. You're so funny. So yeah. So the numbers, it is important, but
It's important, but it's having the right prospects and effectively engaging them is what's more important
Yeah.
than the numbers game.
Yeah. And I agree. Numbers are important, but I think it's quality over quantity. Where
Yes.
when we started, it was dial, 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 dialer, which when you're learning isn't necessarily a bad thing, because you have to get your phone skills and right that cold calling component. There's all skill development in that, but it really gets old fast. I want to share just a really quick story, and some of the listeners have heard this. My newer listeners might not have heard the story. When I started insurance 40 years ago,
Yeah.
and so I remember I'd make the phone calls and get into the appointments. My first client that I went out without my sales manager, I came out of training, if you will. And it was a blue collar couple. And he was working, she was home with the 2 little girls. And he kept saying, but I need life insurance. If something happens to me, they're going to be destitute, et cetera. So was there a need? Sure, there was. But this is what I said to them. I knew he was just about putting food on the table. So I said to him, listen, your wife's not going to go out to work. She's home with the kids. Let's put you on a budget that you can live with, so that when you do pay the premium for the life insurance, it doesn't lapse. And then you're throwing money away otherwise. He was like, all right, but I need the life insurance. I need the life insurance. I said, listen, dude, with 6 months, this is going to lapse. Trust me. So let's get on the budget. Like, let's put the horse before the cart. Fast forward. We did that. They bought the insurance. It didn't lapse. And within 6 months, right, of helping these people, you know what happened? I started getting tons of referrals. It was all of this passive. Now I was young. I didn't know what I was doing, right? This was intuitive for me. Now I teach that, right? But it was a good habit that I had developed. And I started living off of referrals. And I remember that first sale, I came back. This is the numbers game. And my manager said, what do you mean you taught him how to do a budget? I said, well, I have all of this. I have the education in finance. I was going for my MBA. And I said, I felt like that's what they needed from me. He goes, you're a moron. You're stupid. You're never going to make any money. And then within that 6 months, I was getting 1 or 2 leads a week. So who was the stupid one, right? That it helped me thrive, not just survive. And it helped me get off the phone so I could do more impact in the marketplace. It works, yet
Yep.
people are still dial, dial, dial. What are we dialing for? And how refined are we? And are we asking for referrals from our better clients? Like it's all connected. That process all connected, right?
Absolutely. And I want to highlight, and if for your listeners, if you aren't paying attention to what Connie just said, please make note of that, rewind it, make note of it. That's one of the things I did as well, is I used to surround myself with my competitors. If I had a couple that I knew that my products wasn't the best product for them,
That's right.
I knew my competitors' products. And I said, although I would love to serve you, I also know that this isn't the best for you. Do you mind if I bridge an introduction to someone that I do trust as well?
Yeah.
And they have the plan that you really need to be on.
Yeah.
And like you, my leaders, they'd like, you're throwing away your commission. What are you doing? Well, guess who's going to be referred? It was me that I got referred. In fact, I've been out of the insurance space for almost 3 years now, and I still weekly get referrals.
Of course you do.
And that's 3 years. That's a lot. Now, it took me a year and a half to actually leave because I was so worried about what was going to happen to my clients. But after I left, I made a plan for all of my clients in case something happened. But those are the things you do when you're heart-centric.
Absolutely.
You put the client before. They're not walking dollar signs.
No.
Yes. Do we need money? Absolutely. Money does make the world go round. But if you put the client first, you will not want for money. It
Absolutely.
will all come to you.
Absolutely. Serve first, and the rest falls into place. As long as you have a plan, you have a process. I mean, you have to have good habits. We're not just saying, oh, go out there and wing it. It's not about
Yeah.
winging it. I am locked and loaded all the time.
Right. Like you can't manifest sitting on a couch.
Exactly. You're right. All right. Next question. What myths are there about closing?
Closing. So for years and years and years and years, it's always be closing. But you don't close. And you've heard it before. I don't know who knows Mark Hunter. He always says, you're opening a relationship.
Always.
So when you truly close something like a door, it's shut. Now, after you sold a policy, a car, whatever you're selling, whatever your products and service are, that client's still there. So you're beginning the relationships. What I like talking about is I call them micro closes because they're little testing in the conversation of, hey, this is what we could do, this or this. Where would you see yourself right now?
Yep.
And they'll take one of the options. So they're building their own portfolio, their own insurance plan, their own, all the benefits on the car, whatever, again, whatever the product and service that you're offering, let them be involved in the process. But at the end of the day, you should always be curious.
Good word.
Always be able to help find out what are their goals, what are their initiatives, what do they want out of the products and services that they're looking for. They're looking for a reason. Find out what that is. And do you have the solution?
Yeah, it's got
So
to be.
always be closing is the biggest one that one of the biggest ones. The second one is price.
Yeah. And we'll get to that in a minute.
Oops,
So
sorry for the balloons.
The balloons just went on YouTube, guys. So we're having a party here. We're having a party on changing the sales game. So here's the other thing. What you said, those micro closes. When you give people too many options or your vomit products and services, it becomes overwhelmed. No decision's going to be made. Confusion creates confusion. They're not, I don't have time. I don't have money. I'm not sure. I got to think about it. You get all those objections. If you do those micro closes, as you said, where what about this or this? I'm leaning this way, but what do you think? Right. And you get them weighing in. You're eliminating objections at the end, number one, but you're showing the client easily, not because people are stupid. It's because they don't know what we know because we're the experts in fill in the blank, whatever your field is. And when you break it down like that, you're setting the breadcrumbs for them to say, oh yeah, that does make sense. And then whatever the next piece of the puzzle is, they're like, oh yeah, I see how that fits together. We simplify versus creating confusion. And I know you see this too, salespeople, but we're so good because blah, And then they start vomiting. And it's like, stop. The client stops listening. They're taken back by, this person's a crazy person. So you really need to sow the seeds, if you will, slowly, logically, and address where the client is. But you have to ask those questions, and curious. I love that word. We have to be curious about the client. And one last thing, the word close. I have a 7-step process. 40 years is what I've been using. That's how I teach it. But my 6th step would be close, right? And mine is open or expand the relationship. I don't ever use the word close, because you close a door, you close a window, you close a relationship. We're doing the opposite, right? We want to expand and retain and expand those clients. And by the way, generate referrals. So yeah, I agree with you 100% on that. Which myths do you find your business owners or the people you deal with, which ones do you think are the most difficult for them? Like, I understand, but I don't know how to do it, right? Or I'm afraid of shifting or changing. Which would you think would be the biggest?
I think the most difficult one for people is around price. They think everything is bought and sold on price. And it's so not. People will pay extra money for benefits that they want, for luxuries that they want, if it serves them better. Sometimes it's about, how am I going to be perceived? Because if it was just around price, well, we wouldn't need Lamborghinis and Mercedes, and, that we wouldn't need $1 million mansions. We could all live in a shack,
Yeah, that's right.
if price wasn't important. Did I say that right?
You did 100%.
Okay.
Yeah.
Anyway, it's been one of those weeks. So my
Yes,
brain
you're
just
so
went,
funny.
did you say
But
that right?
no, I agree. And it's, think about your own life. Everybody listening, think about your own life. Where did you choose someone who wasn't the cheapest price, renovations on your house, a TV, at Best Buy? I don't know, whatever the purchase was. And someone shared with you, hey, we have this or we have this. You opted for or chose the more expensive one because you knew you were going to get the quality. You knew they were going to be responsive. You knew they were going to do it right, versus I'm getting a cheaper price over here, but are they going to be able to deliver? I don't know about that. So again, we're not afraid to spend more if we know we're going to get what we want. And I think that's really the key. So people get hung up on price, and they shouldn't be, right? Is what you're saying.
Absolutely, they shouldn't be, because I have been in many different industries, and one of the industries I was in, I was an executive assistant to a board for a school board.
Oh,
So, and so we had a lot of people that came to the board. So we had to have bids on like contracts that have happened in the school district. And you hear people all the time. In fact, I work with the demolition and abatement company right now, and they're going, it's all on price, it's all on price, it's all on price. But I've seen it so many times. If a relationship was built with someone who's a decision maker on those bids,
yeah.
they will find a way to make sure that they get that contract in, because they trust them. The relationship is there. And too many people want to hang their hat on price, price, price. But it's not just about price. Sometimes, like I said, it's about perception. I'll give you a case. You were talking earlier, and it reminded me of a story of when I was in the insurance space. I like the newer style Corvette. And at one point, my husband's like, why don't you just buy one? We can afford it. I couldn't ever think of driving to my house to sell insurance to people that I knew were struggling to get insurance. And I didn't want to be perceived ever that price, that image thing was more important than
Yeah.
the people I was serving.
Yeah.
And I never got the Corvette. Now, to me, because materialistic things aren't as important to me as putting people in the right place. And that's always been my motto. I want to put you in a better place than I found you.
Yeah. And it's funny because perception is reality. So if I didn't mean that to be perceived that way, but that's why the communication style is so important. Didn't mean to, but that's how it landed for the client. Their perception is your reality. So how are you dealing with that? And then to always blame the client or blame the pricing, right? Now we're deflecting instead of saying, whoa, how could I have said that or done that differently so I can learn from it? And it's funny because we have to be mindful of the perception, of who we're selling with. And another thing, last year, with inflation, I proactively, my clients are year after year, they're banks. So they're year after year, right? They're long-term clients with me. I'm very blessed. Thank God. And I love them all. They're all my friends too, Joy, which is so funny. But anyway, the last year we were talking about the budget and how much and what classes we needed. And we review, what did they learn? What do they need to learn? Right. You keep building up. And so I approached them. I said, hey, listen, just FYI, the cost is going up, inflation, and they were like, yeah, whatever, Con, don't worry. I was like, well, I didn't want you to be blindsided. Like, oh, all of a sudden the contract has a higher price point. I want to honor where you are. But right, you set the boundary of, but my costs have gone up too. And they laugh. They go, yeah, whatever. Because they know I'm not going to rip them off and I'm going to gouge them. I'm not. They understood inflation. They're living through it too. But the thing is, they know what I'm delivering and they think you're worth it. Like, don't even worry about the price. But again, I'm not going to gouge them. I would never be unfair with my pricing because I know I'm respected, because you lose respect really fast, right?
Oh,
So
really fast.
yeah, that's the other thing, that people get out of your head about the money or the price. If it's the right fit, I think that's the key piece. Can I go back to, you said something before where you were friends with your competitors? So if you, let's say it was commercial insurance and you knew about it, but that really wasn't your agency, it wasn't their zone of genius. So you can hand that off to someone. Well, that person in commercial is going to have a health or a property and casualty or a life. And then that referral comes back to you. That reciprocity, you have to build that with those power partners, again, who you have vetted and know are going to, because it's your reputation when you refer someone. So that's another piece of the puzzle I think people forget about, is those partnerships, right? Have you seen that
Well,
as
they
well?
also forget that people buy you.
Yeah.
They're not buying your company's name. They're not buying, yes, they're getting a product or a service, but the reason they're doing business is they're doing business because of how you treated them.
Yeah.
They keep on coming back because of you. You bring meaningful value. You bring that inspirational experience. You're the one that brings all that. Your company can't, it's just a logo.
Yeah.
It's the people in front of the logo
Yeah.
that's why people keep coming back, or you keep on getting, I've seen some top agents that are more transactional mindset.
Oh,
So they don't keep their clients on board for years and years and years. They're always, and it's a hard gig to do. They're
gig.
always having to find new clients because they're the ones that actually close sales.
Yeah.
Because they close the door on their customer and go on to the next one. So
Yeah.
their clients are not feel like they're nothing but a dollar sign, and they're a walking brochure, and that's all you get.
Yeah, and it's interesting because it's the churn and burn. I mean, that's a hard hustle. That's exhausting. And for me, I would have hated sales every minute. I wouldn't have gone down that road for 4 decades. Here's the other thing too, Joy. I think when we approach it the way you and I are talking about it, I call it creating passive income, because we're diligent with our follow-up. Our clients know we care. They know who our ideal client is. So they're looking out to refer because they respect us so much. So when you do that follow-up, right, and remain top of mind is what it's called.
Yes.
We create passive income. So I know monthly I'll get a lead or two and I'm like, oh, that's so nice. They referred me. Yeah. Let's talk. Right. And then all of a sudden, but I'm already trusted. So the close ratio skyrockets, and I didn't have to do a darn thing other than being me and delivering the service I deliver. That creates this beautiful passive income, a much better way to build a business and build a life than the churn and burn, what you were saying, which is exhausting.
Absolutely. And you just said something that reminded me of a post that I did this week. And it's not from me. It was from her name is Patricia Fripp. It's a quote. And it said, "It's not your customer's job to remember you. It's your obligation and responsibility to make sure that they don't have a chance to forget you."
Absolutely.
And it's like, that was like, and that's bringing that meaningful value.
Yeah.
That's caring what they think about.
That's it. It's caring about them when
Them.
we follow up with them. And I think the stat is something like 99% of salespeople stop their follow up after the fifth touch. And that doesn't mean an email or a phone call. It could be a brochure from your company. It could be a post from your company. It could be seen at a festival locally, whatever, right? But they stop after 5. And with all the noise in the marketplace, and I deal with banks. So most clients bank with 3 to 4 other banks. So there's always competition. So the key is, how do you differentiate yourself, right, from the other bankers out there? Well, most stop after the three to fifth touch. It really, they need to hear from us 13 to 15 times to remain top of mind. Is it effort? Sure. We have Outlook and Google Calendar. It's not a heavy lift if you're organized and have that as part of your process. So that's the other thing I think, Joy, we're talking about. It's Jackie, I keep calling you Joy.
That's okay. I answer to both.
Jackie, you are a joy. Maybe that's why you might have your joy. So Jackie, I think that if you have a process and you're organized and you show up prepared, all of these things become habit versus it becoming, oh, I have to do that now. We're just doing it all the time. Is that what you see when you teach?
Absolutely. And you know, little habits are so easy to, like, if you have a client say, you know, hello, Mr. and Mrs. Smith, how often would you like to hear from me? What's your preference? Just ask. This is not hard. Just ask. So many things could be unraveled if people just ask. And they might say, you know what? Once a quarter is fine with me. Okay, then put it on your calendar. Call Mr. and Mrs. Smith. And it will just be a little reminder, and just as long as you do it.
Yeah.
And it's just that easy.
Yeah.
But people make it harder than it is.
Yeah, I agree.
So.
Last one, because we're almost out of time, but last one, my last question I have, because I hear this all the time. I'm just curious your take. What are the myths, or what do you hear? Is people better at sales, extroverts or introverts?
You know, people think that being an introvert, that they won't be good at sales. And that's so not true.
Great.
You can be very much an introvert, because introverts really sometimes they're just as pleasurable. They're just, you know, they communicate, they do that. The only difference is at the end of the night, they have to go by themselves to recharge.
That's right.
But it's not an either or. Sometimes the extroverts are really the ones that are that in your face, you know, want to push a little bit more and have that, you know, persuasion type of selling. You know, you got to do this. Here's why. Oh, if you miss out on this, this is what you're going to get. You have to get this. You know, you don't want that.
Nope.
You want an introvert will do what? They'll listen. They'll listen to what's going on. And that's really what you want. People think that it's talking that makes you a good salesperson, and it isn't. That's another myth. It is listening. And I just want to share one more, because it's a huge one.
Yeah.
Most people think that salespeople think that customer knows their needs. Most customers don't always know what they need. But it's you sharing insights, you uncovering that by being what? Inquisitive, be curious, ask questions. Hey, I was just curious. How did this land on you when I showed you this? You know, you kind of look like you pulled back a little bit. Is that something that you need? Oh, you don't need that? Watch body language, you know, and you can watch body language. As you saw, I have all kinds of things popping up because I have body language. So if you have body language, you know, watch other people's body language. It's not very difficult. It's taking yourself out of the me mindset.
Yeah.
And start thinking of the other person.
Yeah. Flip the script.
Flip the script.
Yeah, last thing. So I know we talked about them, but go through. I want and everybody take out a piece of paper. If you're driving, come back and listen to this part of the show again. But go through all of the 7 myths, right? There's 7.
Yep.
Yeah, because then that's a nice way to end the show, Jack.
So myth 1 is selling is all about persuasion. Myth 2 is the best salespeople are introverts. Are extroverts, I'm sorry, are extroverts. Myth 3, you should always be closing. Myth 4 is price is the most important factor for customers. Myth 5 is more calls equals more sales. Myth 6 is customers know their needs. And myth 7, sales is a numbers game.
Yeah. And we covered all of them, but
We
write
covered
them
all of them.
down.
We
Yeah,
did pretty
write
good.
them down. So we covered all of them because persuasion, I think we talked about, right? Kind of persuade versus earn, right? Earn that privilege of that client buying from us and becoming lifelong customers, and referral resources, right? We have to earn that privilege. It's a privilege. We have to earn it. We have to show up to get that. And it's not about persuasion. It's about authenticity, all the things we definitely talked about. So again, make that list, guys, and see if you fall into that trap of, well, I'm an introvert, I'm never going to be good at, or I'm an introvert, I'll never get into sales. And maybe you're staying in your company in a position where, I wish I could help the client with that. Maybe you do need to become, move into sales from your current position, whatever it is. So write them down and really reflect. Are you victim to those myths that are now potentially outdated? And take the Jackie's recommendations and ideas or stories that we've shared, and how can you bust that myth for yourself so that you could flourish at a much higher level? So I love.
Can I give one more tip?
Myths. Yeah, go for it. I love it.
So one of the things that we train at Selling from the Heart, and I train a lot of my my salespeople, is people, and you've all heard it, people want to know, like, and trust you. But where are you in that relationship? Are you at the beginning at just, I know, think of it as a sales funnel.
Yeah.
Am I just at the know part that they know who I am, I know who they are, but I know nothing about them?
Yeah.
Where am I in that so I can get to that they know me, like me, and trust me? Because when you get to that point, then you've gained the right to start working down the sales funnel and change it from because you don't want to be caught in the business friend zone of just becoming friends with everybody. You want to be able to turn that into a business conversation, because too many people don't know how to do that.
Yeah.
So where are you in that funnel? Are you just in the know stage, or have you gotten to the know, like, and trust that gives you the right to start having now business conversations?
I love that. That's really true, right? And we understand funnels, right? You have to have activity in, because that's the thing too. It's not a numbers game, but it is. If you make one phone call and think you're going to make $1 million, you are sadly mistaken, unless you find the bazillionaire who wants to pay you $1 million, right? But it is a numbers game. You have to have activity. Otherwise, there's no productivity if we're living in a vacuum. So I love that. But the know, like, trust. See, and the magic happens with the trust. Because and that's why, Jackie, before, when you said you were friends with your competitors that you trusted and you brought them in, the sale was pretty much made, unless that person really, came in and blew it for some reason. But you wouldn't refer that because it's your reputation that could be.
Oh, I vetted them out, believe me.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. You have to. It's your responsibility. Otherwise, don't share with your clients if you don't have anyone. It's funny. Somebody just asked me recently a question. And I said, I'm going to be honest, I don't know anybody who does that. And I don't want to just start making recommendations. I don't know. I don't know who to send you, because I don't want to ever say, well, Connie said, and then them being not the caliber that I would typically refer. So sometimes not sharing could be a good thing too. So any last words, my friend?
Oh my gosh.
Many,
Stay true to yourself, stay true to your heart, make it about other people. Yes, providing for ourselves is very important, but I'm telling you, if you take care of others, you will be well compensated.
Yeah. And then some, right?
Then
And
some.
you're legit out there doing good. You're saving people literally from making mistakes and going somewhere else, when you can differentiate yourself from the other competitors out there and raise the bar so that you get the reputation of that's who you want to go to. We have the power to do that. We just have to live and breathe it, and how we approach business, how we approach sales, how we approach our clients, our prospects, etc. Jackie, thank you so much. So I'm going to give you her email, website, and of course there's a free gift, which you'll tell everybody about. Email is jjoy. So it would be Jackie Joy, not Joy, although she is Joy to me. It's a Friday late in the day, guys. So yes, but Jackie Joy. So it's jjoy at sellingfromtheheart.net. Website sellingfromtheheart.net. .net, and the free gift, I'll put it in the show, I'll put it in the show notes, but it's sellingfromtheheart.net/free pass. Tell everybody what that free pass is.
So what the free pass is we have a podcast. It's called Selling from the Heart. Connie will be a guest hopefully shortly.
Yay.
And what that is we have what's called an insiders group. So every Friday from 12 to 1 Eastern time, we meet. So 1 week is a mastermind, and we have people from every industry in here.
Love it.
But the second week, it's called our up close and personal. So people like your wonderful Connie have been on it. And what they do is 45 minutes, well, it's an hour that we spend with people like Connie to listen to her story and share with our community things that they've learned through their time in sales and what their book might be about. Or so we've had some people, some amazing guests, and that every other week we have a guest on. So you can spend 45 minutes on a Zoom call with them. You can ask them your questions, engage with them. It's so worth its time. I've been doing it. That's how I got involved with Selling from the Heart, actually, is through their insiders group.
I tell you, that is brilliant, because the people have questions when they're dealing with something. And what's the resource? Where do I go if their company hasn't hired a Jackie or a Connie? Where do I go to get these questions answered? So I love that. That's such a great platform. Plus, you meet other like-minded people who are more heart-centered in how they're approaching sales. And the other thing I just want to say about that, why I really respect what you're doing and bringing that for a platform for people to really come with real life questions, not theoretical, but real life questions, is somebody might relate to you better, your process or how you approach it, than me, or vice versa, because it's customized. Everything we have to do is customized. So your offer or how you approach it might work better for a client than me. And that's why I like that platform, because they might get a tip from you or from the guest. And there's nothing wrong with that, right? We're sharing the wealth, because there really is enough business to go around. I think that's another myth, that if I don't make the sale, I lose, versus, well, wait a minute, there's somebody better than me that can help with this specific situation. We can generate more. That I don't know. Is that another myth to add to your list?
Yeah, could be. We will. So, and then also, because it's a nice place where like-hearted and like-minded people come, because everybody's here. There's no one that has commission breath. It's all people that are heart-centered, that's how they sell. Building relationships with their clients are super important to them. And it's also a great networking space. We've had a lot of people within our community do business with one another. So it's a win-win-win-win all the way around.
I love it. I love it, Jackie. Thank you so much for sharing that and opening it to my peeps. I so appreciate that. We have to provide these tangible resources now, because I see too much of that old training, especially in the financial service industry, of transaction versus relationship. And that's just dangerous, because we're leaving too much money on the table for the organization, but we're really hurting the client, because we're just not doing the best job for them. And that's not okay, right? People need expertise, whatever your expertise is. They need help with that if they're not in that industry, and that you're not being honest in how you deliver. I think that's unfair. It's just unfair. So yeah, I love the whole Selling from the Heart. And I love you, my friend. You're freaking amazing. And I hope you will join me weekly as we question, build, and discover together. No matter where you are on changing your sales game, people like Jackie are out there trying to change the mantra of sales, creating these platforms where like-minded people come together and can really mastermind and up their game in just an easy, comfortable way, but also sharing ideas. So here's the deal. And Jackie, I end the show with this every week. Information's a beautiful thing. Those myths that Jackie and I now added to, teasing you, Jack, but all of those myths that Jackie shared, that's great information. Pick one. Join her mastermind on those Friday calls. Go to that website link that's in the show notes. Do something, but take the information that Jackie shared, and put it into practice. Download or go to her calendar to get on. Email her with questions, but you got to do something. Information is meant to be shared and implemented, and with that comes reaction or action to our reaction to our actions, which ultimately creates magic in our world. So Jackie, thank you again for just
Thank
sharing.
you.
I love those myths. That was so cool
Thank
and
you.
so fun. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
And you've been listening to Changing the Sales Game with me, your host, Connie Whitman, on webtalkradio.com. You know, I'm inspired and truly am honored that you join me every week for my guests and I to have these hopefully delightful, fun, stimulating, and inspiring conversations to help you change your sales game. I love you all. Thank you for joining me. We will see you next week. Have a great one, everybody. Take the information, put it into practice. I promise you magic will happen. I love you. Have a great one. Thanks, everybody. Bye.